Breaking news. America is under siege, not by war, not by politics, but by nature itself. A historic winter storm has unleashed utter chaos across the United States, paralyzing cities, killing dozens, and plunging nearly 500,000 people into a frozen blackout nightmare. And New York? New York has become the epicenter of winter hell. This isn't just snow. This isn't just cold. This is a full-blown national disaster. Blizzards slamming the East Coast, sub-zero temperatures annihilating the South, ice storms ripping down power lines like toothpicks. Roads have disappeared under white oceans of snow. Neighborhoods are buried. Entire towns are frozen in silence. As of now, the death toll has officially surpassed 100, but experts warn that number may just be the beginning. Emergency crews are discovering more victims each day, in cars, in parks, even frozen on front porches. Power outages have soared past 400,000 homes, and that's just the official count. In some rural states, entire counties have gone dark. No heat, no light, just ice, panic, and silence. And in cities like Buffalo, Memphis, and even Atlanta, yes, Atlanta, temperatures have plunged to levels not seen in decades. We're talking wind chills so cold, they can freeze your skin in under 5 minutes. In New York City, one of the greatest cities on Earth, life has come to a terrifying halt. Times Square looks like a post-apocalyptic movie set. Subways are frozen, taxis abandoned, people huddled in blankets, using ovens for heat. Hospitals are overwhelmed, not just with injuries, but with carbon monoxide poisonings from people trying to survive by any means necessary. Portable heaters, car engines, grills, anything for warmth. And it's killing them. Thousands are trapped in their homes, some without food, some without medication, some without any idea when help might come. Flights canceled, trains stopped, highways blocked by jackknife trucks and snowdrifts taller than a man. And now, weather models show this isn't over. Another system is brewing, and forecasters warn the worst could still be ahead. So we have to ask, how did this happen? Why wasn't the country prepared? But to understand the true scale of this winter catastrophe, we need to look past the headlines and into the neighborhoods, the streets, the homes where ordinary Americans are facing extraordinary terror. Let's start in upstate New York, a place used to harsh winters, sure, but not like this. In the town of Shroon Lake, residents woke up to a nightmare. Over 50 inches of snow in less than 36 hours. That's more than 4 feet of frozen suffocation. Roads vanished. Power poles snapped like matchsticks. And by midday, the temperature dropped so fast, even diesel engines froze solid. Locals described it like the air itself was trying to kill them. One family, the Morgans, were found alive, but barely. Trapped in their car for 17 hours after sliding off an unplowed road, with no cell signal and only granola bars and melted snow to keep them going. Their baby had turned blue by the time rescuers broke through a wall of ice to reach them. And that's just one story. Multiply that by thousands. In parts of Pennsylvania, people are setting their kitchen cabinets on fire just to keep warm. One elderly man was found burning phone books in his bathtub. In Mississippi, hospitals are seeing frostbite cases for the first time in recorded history. Entire emergency rooms lined with patients missing fingers, ears, even toes. And while the public suffers, questions are swirling. Where is the response? Some are calling this a complete collapse of infrastructure. The federal government's response? Slow. The power companies? Overwhelmed. State agencies? Underprepared. Millions were given just hours of warning before temperatures plummeted, before roads became impassable, before transformers began exploding in the snow-choked dark. And yet, Authorities continue to assure the public, we're doing everything we can. Really? Because in Chicago, the National Guard was deployed 3 days too late. In Kentucky, emergency shelters ran out of food on night 1. And in Memphis, one mother was told to wait on hold for FEMA, while her children shivered in a house where the thermostat read 27 degrees Fahrenheit, indoors. But let's be brutally honest, this isn't just a freak storm. It's a disaster decades in the making. Experts have warned for years that climate instability would make winter storms more violent, more erratic, more merciless. And now, those warnings are reality. Jet streams have shifted. Arctic blasts are dipping further south. Moisture levels have spiked. And what we're seeing is a new kind of winter. Angrier, deadlier, and less predictable than anything before. And the toll on mental health? That's another storm altogether. Hotlines are overwhelmed. Therapists are warning of PTSD-like symptoms among children trapped in the dark for days. In Brooklyn, reports have emerged of neighbors turning against each other, over food, over fuel, over fear. One police report detailed a man breaking into a bodega not for alcohol or cigarettes, but to steal candles and peanut butter. These are no longer isolated incidents. America is unraveling, one snow-covered block at a time. And yet, somehow, amidst all this chaos, there are flickers of human resilience. Volunteer groups forming heating shelters out of churches, teenagers delivering firewood on snowshoes, a retired nurse walking 5 miles through a blizzard to reach an insulin-dependent neighbor. But these stories are outnumbered by stories of helplessness, of abandonment, of cold. And still, the snow falls. Weather alerts continue to blare across radios and phones. Do not travel. Shelter in place. Expect widespread blackouts. In Maine, the forecast reads like a threat. Another foot of snow, followed by freezing rain, then 60-mile-an-hour winds. Entire towns bracing for whiteouts and ice sheets thick enough to trap you in your own home. And the scariest part? No one knows when it will end. This isn't just a storm. This is a systemic stress test. A national emergency. A terrifying preview of what winter will look like in the years to come. And in this frigid battlefield, the most vulnerable are paying the highest price. The poor, the elderly, the isolated. People who can't evacuate. People who have nowhere to go. People whose stories will never make the news. But we will tell them. Because this story isn't over. While millions shiver in darkness and hundreds of lives are lost to cold, one question echoes louder than the wind tearing through the streets. Who let this happen? The blame game has begun. And it's getting ugly. In Washington, D.C., politicians are finger-pointing like this is just another debate. Congressional leaders held emergency briefings, but insiders say the response was delayed not by logistics, but by arguments. Arguments over whether this storm was a weather event or a climate crisis. While they argued, people died. In one of the most chilling revelations to come out of this disaster, it's been confirmed that at least 19 of the deaths in New York were unhoused individuals, frozen overnight on benches, under bridges, or in subway stations that were locked down for safety. The irony? These stations were heated, but shut off from the people who needed them most. New York's mayor is now under fire for not activating Code Blue protocols fast enough. And across the country, governors are being grilled on live television. In Tennessee, one official, visibly sweating in a heated press room while thousands outside had no power, had the audacity to say, "We didn't expect it to be this bad." This bad? How is it possible that in 2026, in the world's richest country, a winter storm can bring society to its knees in under 72 hours? And then there's the power companies. America's utility giants, corporations that rake in billions, are being exposed. exposed for failing to upgrade decades-old infrastructure, exposed for lobbying against cold weather mandates, exposed for rolling blackouts not just because of demand, but because they gambled on not needing to winterize. One whistleblower from a major grid operator in the Midwest claimed they'd known since October that supply wouldn't meet demand in a worst-case storm scenario. But no action was taken. Why? Because weatherizing turbines, transformers, and delivery lines would cut into profits. Meanwhile, those profits keep growing. And the cost of that greed? It's being paid in frostbitten limbs, house fires from makeshift heaters, and the silent suffering of millions watching their breath fog up in their living rooms. People are angry, furious, and that anger is spreading faster than the snow. In parts of the South, protests have already broken out. In Little Rock, Arkansas, demonstrators blocked City Hall with signs reading, "Freeze one of them for a change," and "We're cold, not stupid." Online, hashtags like Crawling Frozen by Greed, #SnowStorm Neglect, and #Powerless USA are trending globally. But it's more than hashtags. In cities like St. Louis and Pittsburgh, reports are emerging of civilians storming utility trucks, demanding immediate repairs. Some crews have requested police escorts. Others have walked off the job, fearing for their safety. This isn't just a storm. This is a reckoning, and the timing couldn't be worse. With supply chains already strained, grocery stores are running empty. Delivery trucks are stuck. And panic buying has led to violent altercations over bottled water and canned food. One viral video shows a man pulling a knife over the last bag of charcoal briquettes. We are witnessing the thin veil of modern comfort tear away, and as it does, survival instincts take over. In New Jersey, a suburban community has gone entirely off-grid, pooling resources, cooking over fires, blocking outsiders. They're calling themselves the Frost Circle. In Louisiana, neighborhoods are erecting makeshift barriers to keep desperate people from looting warm homes. There's footage, raw, horrifying footage, of families huddled together in parked cars, engine running, praying the gas tank doesn't run out before the sun rises. This is not just a weather story. It's a mirror. A brutal reflection of just how fragile our systems truly are. Because when the power goes out, the masks come off. The real America steps into the cold, and it's not pretty. But let's be clear, the scariest thing is not what has happened. It's what still could. Meteorologists are now tracking a second Arctic blast forming over the Rockies. If it shifts east, and many models say it will, it could collide with the existing storm system and form a megastorm, unlike anything this country has ever seen. The words winter hurricane have been used. If that happens, experts say we could see an additional 10 to 15 inches of snow in regions already crippled. Temperatures could plunge another 20 degrees, and power grids already on the edge, they'd collapse. This would no longer be a disaster. It would be a shutdown of civilization. We're standing on a knife's edge, and no one, not FEMA, not your mayor, not your governor, can say with certainty that help will arrive in time if things get worse. Because let's be honest, help was already late. While chaos erupts across the country, one question lingers like the frost creeping under every door frame. Where is the full truth? Because what the media is showing is only the surface. Cable news channels loop the same B-roll of snowy highways and whiteout suburbs. Talking heads in heated studios debate whether Americans are overreacting. But what they're not airing is the video of the mother in rural Ohio melting snow to flush her toilet, or the child in East Harlem who hasn't eaten a hot meal in 5 days. They're not showing the full scale of the desperation, the collapse, the growing sense that no one's in charge. In fact, some independent journalists have reported being blocked from accessing shelters, denied drone permits to film hard-hit areas, and even pressured to avoid the word collapse in headlines. One viral tweet from a storm-chasing photographer reads, "If you knew what I've seen in rural Pennsylvania, you'd never sleep again." And this raises a chilling reality. The systems designed to protect us, government, media, utilities, are also controlling what we know. And as the public begins to realize that, the panic is evolving. It's no longer just fear of snow, it's fear of the unknown. Because this storm isn't just rare, it's something scientists have warned about for decades, a climate-fueled winter bomb, driven by warming Arctic temperatures that destabilize the polar vortex. The same thing happened in 2021, but this time, it's bigger, colder, wider, and far deadlier. Climate scientists are calling this the first Cascade winter event, where shifting air currents, ocean temperatures, and increased moisture all combine into a perfect storm, literally. What we're experiencing now could be the beginning of a terrifying new normal. Winters that are no longer seasonal inconveniences, but national threats. And yet, even as snow buries cities and power grids fall, elected leaders dodge the climate question. It's weather, they say. It happens. But tell that to the farmers in Kansas, whose livestock have frozen to death by the thousands. Tell that to the families whose homes are destroyed not by flooding or fire, but by ice. Tell that to the man in New Hampshire who burned his kitchen cabinets for heat, then watched his home go up in flames. This isn't just happening in the mountains or the back roads. This is happening everywhere. And as it does, America is waking up, angry, freezing, and ready to demand answers. Insurance companies are already warning that claims from this storm could exceed $10 billion. Some are already preparing to deny coverage, calling the storm an act of God. Act of God, or act of gross negligence. Because here's the truth. No one wants to say out loud, we weren't ready because we didn't want to be. We were warned. Scientists, engineers, analysts, they told us the infrastructure was vulnerable. They told us our cities weren't built for the extremes of the 21st century. They told us we needed to prepare for winter the way we prepare for hurricanes, wildfires, and war. And we didn't. Now, we are paying the price. In lives, in livelihoods, in trust. And people are snapping. In Boston, residents formed what they're calling snow patrols, neighbors taking turns guarding their street with bats, shovels, and floodlights. In Detroit, a local man rigged his Tesla Powerwall to run 6 homes off-grid. And now hundreds are begging him to do the same on their block. Communities are improvising, surviving. But underneath it all, something is cracking. Not just roads and rooftops, but the sense that society is dependable, that someone's coming. That help is on the way, because right now, there are still people buried in snowdrifts waiting for ambulances that aren't coming. There are still homes freezing, families coughing from propane fumes, people boiling water over candles. And it's not just the storm doing the damage anymore. It's the silence, the absence of leadership, the collapse of truth, the realization that when disaster strikes, you might just be on your own. And still, the blizzards rage. Weather alerts now stretch across 30 states. Entire counties are declaring martial law. Schools may not reopen for weeks. And for many, this storm won't end when the snow melts, because the damage it's done to our minds, our systems, and our future is just beginning. Because even after the last flake falls, the winter will still be here, in the pipes that burst, in the bills that go unpaid, in the trauma etched into a generation that learned what it means to be cold, truly, terrifyingly cold, in a country that was supposed to have it all. As the snow begins to slow and the skies show hints of retreat, America is crawling out from the ice. And what it finds is not recovery, but revelation. Because in the bitter silence after the storm, something irreversible has begun. Politicians, once confident and calculated, are now in full-scale panic. Approval ratings are plummeting. In a matter of days, governors once seen as invincible are now targets of public fury. Protesters are showing up at state capitals with frozen water bottles and snowballs in hand, a bitter, freezing reminder of what their leadership failed to stop. One senator, caught boarding a private jet out of Buffalo while his district remained powerless, is now the subject of a formal ethics investigation. Another has deleted her entire Twitter history after mocking winter prep funding just last year. The backlash isn't just political, it's seismic. In Washington, emergency sessions are being called. Analysts are predicting this storm will reshape the 2026 midterms. New candidates are rising. Grassroots, furious, and fueled by the rage of millions left to fend for themselves in a country that promised more. But as politics unravels, another shift is happening. The migration has begun. Families in the Midwest are packing up, permanently. Real estate forums are flooded with desperate sellers. "Can't do another winter like this," one listing reads. In Texas, Arizona, and even parts of Mexico, rental prices are skyrocketing as tens of thousands seek refuge from the cold. This storm didn't just destroy homes, it reshaped the map. People are rethinking where they live, where they raise children, where they grow old. Because now, even lifelong New Yorkers and proud Chicagoans are admitting something once unthinkable. Maybe this place is no longer survivable. And that migration? It's not just physical, it's psychological, a cultural rewiring. Schools are rewriting emergency plans. Workplaces are switching permanently to remote. Parents are buying gas-powered stoves, just in case. Generators are selling faster than iPhones. The psyche of the nation has changed. Because for the first time, the average American no longer assumes help will arrive in time. And that realization? It doesn't go away. In neighborhoods that lost power for days, people are now forming local resilience groups. "No more waiting," says a group in Minneapolis who plan to buy bulk medical supplies and fuel tanks for their block. In Denver, a suburban father has started teaching winter survival classes in his garage. 40 people signed up in 48 hours. We are witnessing the rise of a new mindset, survivalist realism. No longer paranoid, no longer fringe. Now, it's mainstream, and the businesses know it. Cold weather gear companies have doubled their ad spend. Solar panels are selling out. Gun shops report record winter sales. What once belonged to the preppers now belongs to the public. Because this storm didn't just freeze cities, it thawed delusion. The delusion that modern life is untouchable, that heat and light and access are guaranteed, that America's systems, roads, power, politics will always hold. They didn't. And while the snow may melt, that realization stays. Families now talk about backup plans over dinner. Kids know the signs of hypothermia. Grandparents are asking about thermal blankets. Just in case, they say. But that phrase, just in case, has taken on a new, sharper meaning. It's not paranoia, it's preparation. And if meteorologists are right, they're going to need it. Because next year's models? They show colder patterns, more volatility. And yes, the potential for something worse. A once-in-a-century storm? Try once every 3 years. That's the future scientists are now projecting. And if this was a warning, then it screamed at us in 60-mile-per-hour gusts and sub-zero silence. The question is, will we listen? Because winter is no longer a season. It's a threat. And from here on out, the only question that matters, the only one worth asking, is this. When it strikes again, will we survive it better or fall even harder? The storm has passed. Not completely, not everywhere, but enough that the winds have calmed, the snow has stopped, and rescue sirens have gone quiet. What's left behind is not silence, but the sound of a nation trying to breathe again. In neighborhoods once buried in white, people are stepping out into sunlight, pale sunlight, cold sunlight, but sunlight nonetheless. You can almost hear the collective exhale, slow, shaky, and uncertain. And now begins the hardest part. What comes next? Because rebuilding isn't just about fixing power lines or plowing roads. It's about stitching together everything that cracked beneath the weight of this storm. Trust, confidence, and hope. For every house that regains power, there's another where the pipes burst. For every store that reopens, there's another that's gone for good. And for every survivor we interview on live television, there are countless others we'll never hear from because they didn't make it. The death toll, once estimated in dozens, has surged, quietly, off camera. Final counts won't be known for weeks, maybe months, but every number is a name, a face, a story frozen in time. Some were elderly, some were children, some were people like you, people who thought just a week ago that this was all just weather. And now, their families are left with a new kind of grief, one not born of chaos, but of absence. The slow, hollow pain of knowing that help didn't come, and maybe never could have. PTSD clinics are reporting spikes already. Children are waking up screaming. Adults won't sleep without the lights on. And across the country, people are quietly asking questions they're afraid to say out loud. If it happened again tomorrow, would we survive? The truth? We don't know. Because while the plows are clearing the highways and the headlines are beginning to fade, something deeper remains, a collective scar. And scars don't melt with snow, but in that scar, something else is forming. A new awareness, a sharper instinct, a refusal to ever be caught off guard again. Families are buying generators, cities are rewriting protocols. Individuals, once passive, trusting, detached, are suddenly very, very alert to weather, to warnings, to each other, because this storm taught us something the modern world tried to make us forget. Nature doesn't care about your status, your Wi-Fi, or your backup plan. It comes, it hits, and it takes. And the only thing standing between comfort and catastrophe is how ready you are. So as the ice thaws and the headlines move on, don't forget this storm. Remember what it felt like to watch your breath inside your own home, to see your phone die and realize the silence wasn't peace, it was danger. To light a candle not for mood, but for survival. Let those memories sharpen you, harden you, prepare you. Because this wasn't just a storm, it was a signal, and it asked only one question. Will you be ready when the next one comes?